The Dingers podcast is on the air. I'm your host, Mitch, and this is episode 92. Remember, we are free and available wherever you can get your podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, all those podcasting places, make sure you check it out. And join our conversation on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. We love interacting with you, Cubs fans and listeners. So yeah, that's what this is about, building a community. And here's our little community right now tonight. Kevin and Jeff are here joining me to talk some Cubs baseball. How are you guys tonight?
Not bad. I'm doing well. Doing well. Kind of ready for my kids to go back to school. Just telling the guys I have like a couple summer projects I'm trying to finish up, and they are just bonkers. Kale is my questioner, hands down, but I'm pretty sure we clocked him at least 15,000 questions today. Just going bonkers.
Yeah, but you're a teacher, and I'm a teacher. I don't want school to start.
I hear NyQuil helps.
Yes.
Down for a nap.
I always love when I bring up my kids around Jeff. It's NyQuil. You ever thought about giving them bourbon?
Benadryl,
things like that. Benadryl. That's usually the other one. Yeah. So Jeff, how you doing there? You're looking good.
Not bad. I had I played 36 holes in this heat we had this weekend. It really took it out of me. I tried to watch the game yesterday. I turned it on before first pitch, and I woke up at the last out. So I don't really know what happened.
We lost.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a boring game.
I did see that. We lost 3-0, but no. So yeah, my shoulder's a little sore today after playing 36 holes and then doing that ridiculous workout that scared Kevin from coming to the gym.
It's true.
It's
true.
Mitch, how's the transition back home to Northeast Iowa going?
It's going well. Just still kind of adjusting to everything, but we're doing well. Had my first new teacher orientation with the new school, so yeah, I think I'm gonna like it. I think it's gonna be all right. North Valley Tiger Hawks, who doesn't love to be a Tiger Hawk?
Yeah, it's a pretty good mascot right there, Tiger Hawk.
It's when two schools join together and one's the Tigers and one's the Hawk, and they didn't know what to do to make another mascot, so they just combined the one mascot to make a new animal, a Tiger Hawk. So there we go.
Man, it would have been so sweet if one school was Lions and the other one was Tigers. You guys could have been the Ligers.
Or just the Lions Tigers.
Son of a bitch.
Yep. Or just Oz.
What a missed opportunity.
Yep. Well, Kevin, what are you drinking tonight? Because I'm drinking beautiful Toppling Goliath sour.
Oh, I am going off book because I went to buy some rum, and it came with some spiced apple rum, so I'm using my usual apple drink with that. But I have heard that there's a new assassin variant in town from TG Brews. The Bramble Barrel Assassin and Vanilla Bean Assassin will debut in a dual release that they're going to call the Assassin Ramble this September 9th to 18th. And, while you're up there, you should grab yourself some Berry Patch Fandango to sweeten up the end of your summer. Heard that one is
amazing.
Yeah, Mitch loves that one. It's his favorite.
So good. Who needs to drink water anymore when you got that, right?
Right.
Kevin, can we get that down around here?
You can.
Yeah, I haven't been to Hy-Vee. That's my local place to pick up the TG Brews, the Toppling Goliath. But I haven't been there lately. But I have a date either tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm planning on heading over there, hoping to find a couple of these new beers they put out. See what else they've got.
What kind of a date?
I have set aside time that I'm going to Hy-Vee. When you have kids and a wife and you've got summer projects to finish up, you kind of have to block your time.
If you didn't have a Hy-Vee, where else could you go to find your Toppling Goliath?
Yeah, you can go to tgbrews.com/beerfinder to find where you can pick up some Toppling Goliath in your area. It's tasty stuff.
Well, Jeffrey, let's get a week recap.
All right, well, it's a fantastic week recap, let me tell you. Not really. So
take off his glasses, folks. We're getting real.
I'm going to take it off so I can read. So we got swept by the Redbirds from Missouri. Started off with a 0-6 loss, and then we had a tough doubleheader. We had a game postponed due to The city sucks. And it was, which it sucks that we lost one of those games because Stroman pitched really, really well, which he's been pretty dominant, pretty lights out since he came back from the IL. So it was really tough to lose that first game of the doubleheader. Then we lost 2-7 in game 2. And then came back home and we took 2 out of 3 from the Marlins. Apparently we lost that game yesterday. I napped through. I guess Steele, did he pitch Saturday? Because I was
He pitched Friday.
Okay, Friday night. So I missed most of Friday night's game because I was doing some recon. I was playing in a tournament Saturday, so we played the course Friday. So what he pitched 4 2/3 with 10 strikeouts. Man, that's awesome. I did hear him get interviewed tonight during tonight's game, and he said he wished he could have went a little bit deeper. And that's something he said he's kind of working on to get into the 5th, 6th inning.
His pitch count got high fast.
It did. And then Willson showed the Wrigley Field faithful. He appreciated being back in Wrigley Field by hitting a go-ahead dinger in the 8th, which we were down 1-0, and that put us up 2-1 for the win. And then Saturday we picked up a 4-0 win. Higgins hit a dagger of a dinger down the line, which he said he thought was going foul, but it just squeaked fair. And then Sunday was 3-0. So, Kevin, what's some of your takeaways from this week? What do you think of the pitching staff?
Yeah, so you brought it up. Stroman has looked almost fantastic. I would say fantastic. He's gets a little bit of an issue when he got a little long going into the 7th the other night, but 6.2 with 6 Ks. He's been looking really good since he's come back. And then
right,
the
Scott.
other one, yeah, saw Scott Crawford. Nice to see Mitch starting a 2nd season push to catch Kevin with Nelson's dinger tonight. Yeah.
We're gonna come back.
I may be getting a bit mouthy in our personal little text chain when we go to pick dingers to the guys. So
I'll just say this right now that Kevin sucks. He's a poor sport. There's a thing as a sore loser, but there's another thing as a sore winner. All right, It's Kevin.
I'll let you guys know. What was that? Was that Saturday that you texted out some reason for everybody else to get a dinger that night except for me? And it was like, say I got the last out. Somebody like, it was pretty ridiculous.
The ball landed in the section next to Jake. Yeah. I'm like, well, have a dinger. I said, if you and I are getting dingers, Mitch can have one too.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
Jake almost caught a home run ball.
That's right.
Yeah, true.
Use that game.
Another pitching thing that I noticed this week was Steele on Friday night, those 10 Ks. He seems to have like 2 go-to strategies almost when he goes out to pitch. He's either going to strike everyone out, but he's not going to be super efficient, but he's going to get a ton of strikeouts and keep them off the board, or he's going to pitch to contact and he's going to be able to pitch pretty deep into the game. And it's interesting because both of those aren't like those are good strategies to have in your back pocket, but it seems to be we see one Steele or the other each week.
Yeah. And he's been so effective lately. Both him and Keegan Thompson pitching tonight. And I put out a tweet earlier tonight. Like, I will admit that last year, you could go back to our episodes towards the end of last year. I was higher on Steele than I was on Thompson. I didn't think that Thompson had the stuff to be an effective starter. I thought he would work better out of the bullpen. But he has made adjustments, and he has developed into a frontline starter, both him and Steele. And that is great going into next year that we have these 2 guys. Steele on Friday, it was just a pitcher's duel. Like, it was 1-0, but we were almost no hit. I think Madrigal maybe had 1 hit, or maybe that was Saturday. Madrigal had like 1 of the 2 hits going into like the 7th or 8th inning. And it's like just pitcher's duel. And then to have Contreras come up huge with a dinger. That's the way you got to get welcome back to Wrigley, and just the impact he's having on these young guys. I'll read the quote from Morrell. It says, as soon as I found out that he was staying, first thing I did was hug it out. I just said, thank you for staying. Like he had a choice. Thank you for being here, not leaving us, not leaving me alone. I'm just happy that he's here. He's been there, even telling me or giving me advice on how to behave in social media, how to behave around in the clubhouse, on the field. He's just been everything. He is really helpful. Like I said, he is like my brother without the blood. That's all that's missing. Like, and then you like see him in the dugout with Nelson Velasquez, who's hit a bomb tonight, got me a dinger. In the last 28 games, Nelson Velasquez slash line is 298 average, 339 on base percentage, and 471 slug. The dude has been on a tear. And we just got news today. I mean, Jeffrey, are you ready? Are you ready for this?
I am.
We're going to cut Jason Hayward loose at the end of the season. And it is highly likely that Jason Hayward has played his last game in a Chicago Cubs uniform as of right now.
Yeah, they said that the knee injury is going to keep him out for the rest of this season, and they planned on cutting ties with him over the offseason so he can pick up with another team if he wishes.
So, like, his last game was, like, back in May?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Guess what he did? He probably ground out to second base.
Yeah.
Man.
What are you doing, Jeffrey?
What are you doing?
Watching?
I don't...
Pay attention. Ask for an hour of your time.
Was that shaving cream? Like, what are you doing?
Was that Jason Hayward limping and falling over because of his knee injury?
So, I tried to switch from my Doc app to the Instagram app because I saved a quote, and I ended up, there was a commercial that popped right up. My bad.
We're
I won't find
professionals
this
here, folks.
I won't find...
How happy are you that Jason Hayward is no longer going to put on
I'm a little ecstatic. My worst nightmare, I had this dream the other night that they cut him, but then they hired him as an assistant hitting instructor. I'm like, are you kidding me? Cripes.
Hey, I feel like he would be a great quality assurance guy. He
Right.
would fill that role. Quality assurance. I mean, that's
Look
like
at
my
me.
dream job. That's
If
my
you
dream
can't hit, you're going to be out of a job, so you better do something.
quality assurance.
That's right.
What do you do? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's tell everybody doing a good job.
Make sure the bats aren't like have no like cracks in them. You just go around, tap all of them. Yep, they're good.
See, and I imagine the quality assurance guy is the guy who's making sure that when they're gonna turn on the cameras into the dugout, that guys are like hugging and high fiving and stuff like that. He's just always the high morale.
Hey, everybody,
guy.
pay
Like,
attention.
"Come
The camera's going to be on.
Yep. Taylor McGregor's coming. We got to get ready to go.
Yep, that's a great role for Jason Hayward going into the rest of the season until next year. So yeah, I mean we got that news, but we have Bryan Smith waiting in the background. We're going to have him jump on. He's a guest. He's going to be talking about Cubs prospects and who we picked up in the trade. So let's bring on Bryan Smith from Bleacher Nation. What's up, Bryan?
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, this is your second time on the Dingers podcast.
Yeah.
All right. I'm guessing I joined some elite company, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
Joe Kilgallen.
I mean, I
nice.
think Michael Cervantes was on. What was he? Cerami was on
2 weeks ago.
during the winter.
Yeah.
I think he was on during the winter.
yep.
So another Bleacher Nation guy. So,
Sweet.
but I think we had you on last year in the darkest timeline
Yeah.
Yes.
at this time of year last year when the Cubs traded everybody, and so. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause I
a
was
little happier
curious.
note this time.
I was curious if you already had a Chris Bryant San Francisco Giants jersey. I think it was like hanging in the background.
Yeah, and this time I didn't buy any jerseys for Willson going somewhere else, so I'm doing well.
Nice.
Well, let's get right into it. Cubs have kind of shifted the focus. I mean, last trades and even draft picks have been a lot position players. This year in the draft, they loaded up on pitching. In the trades they made, they got some pitching. Who are some of those that you, through the draft or through the trades, that you're really kind of jumped out to you during the last couple weeks?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think the strategy at least is probably the biggest thing that jumped out is, I think when Theo and Jed took over, the way that they built those teams was sort of with the idea that you can sort of predict young hitters easier. And so you're going to build your team with young, cheap, cost-controlled hitters, and then you can go out and you can buy a pitching staff. I think that was sort of the way they looked at it. And, I think the strategy that Jed and Carter are building, what they're hoping to be the next great Cubs team with, shows that baseball's changed a lot, and that, developing players now, the value that you can have if you have young pitchers that are cost controlled, that are, difference makers in either the rotation or the bullpen, is valuable enough that that's worth spending sort of your resources trying to find. So I think, the players are great, and, we can run through all of them, but I think the thing that really sticks out to me is just, it's a totally different way to build a baseball team than we saw 10 years ago.
Yeah. We saw him struggle in his first outing with Iowa, but we're not concerned at all after having a 10-day off and getting traded organizations. What do you like about Hayden Wesnowski?
Yeah, Hayden
Wesneski.
Wesneski, right? Yeah, that was a fun trade. Scott Efros is one of my favorites off this Cubs team, and it's hard to see him go. But I think Hayden has some of the traits that you can understand why the Cubs would pull that trigger. It's velocity up to like 97 miles an hour, and I think the real pitch that people go crazy for is the slider, the sort of frisbee slider that's sort of in vogue in baseball right now. And then he has a really good cutter that's sort of a gap between those two pitches. So you can pitch off the cutter, and then you have the slider that goes one direction off the cutter, and the fastball that sort of stays straight off of it. So it's a nice mix that I think the Cubs can continue to build off of. Maybe make those fastballs a little sort of more valuable in sort of like getting better late life on the fastball and things like that. But overall sort of foundation, I think, is really good, and a guy that could be, I think he could definitely make it in the starting rotation, or I think if it goes the way of needing him in the bullpen, definitely has the pitch mix to succeed there too.
Yeah. We watched some videos last week of his slider, and just straight filthy. Another guy that the Cubs picked up was Ben Brown, and we saw in his first outing with the AAA, pitched 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 base on balls in 9 Ks. Is this a guy that's going to fit right in with our next kind of, with the DJ Hers, with the Jordan Wicks, of those guys that's going to make the transition into the rotation in the coming future? Do you see him being one of those guys?
Yeah, I think he's putting himself on the map. He was not really a guy entering this season, I think, in the Phillies organization, sort of a back end of a prospect list type of guy, mostly the kind of guy you just rank because he's 6'6" and can throw a decently hard, fastball. And then this year, everything sort of caught up, and now he becomes a top 10 guy in the Phillies system. I think probably a top 15-ish guy in the Cubs system. And really good Double-A debut the other day. He's legitimately tough to hit when he's throwing 95 to 98 with the fastball at 6'6". Hitters swing through it. They swing through it a lot more than other 96 mile per hour fastballs you see at that level. There's something about that pitch that gets a lot of swing and miss, which is really exciting. And then he's got 2 different breaking balls. I think, maybe the Cubs tinker with those a little bit, but the fact that he can spin them like he does is a great thing.
And did he start? Was he at Double-A with the Phillies before he came over, or did he move up? He was promoted and traded.
Right. Yeah, he was in High A. He was the Phillies pitcher of the month in July, and then at the end of July they promoted him to High A, and then happened to trade him sort of while he was moving, I think, from High A to Double-A.
Nice. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I couldn't remember. So as much as he's doing fantastic, we got no qualms there. It's one of those not going to necessarily see him at the the Cubs level super soon, but looking at our second half here, is there anybody that you do think that we're going to see in the next couple of weeks, maybe in September? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this year is going to be a little different. I don't think that there's that sort of ready-made top prospect that's sort of waiting in the wings that's going to get called up. I think the thing the Cubs are going to do the rest of this season is really try to focus on who are the right guys to add to the 40-man roster to protect from the Rule 5 draft this offseason. And so you're going to see guys get a chance that, the Cubs are sort of on the fence about that could be good relievers, for example. Somebody like Nick Padilla in Iowa or Jeremy Estrada is another one that I know Carter Hawkins mentioned the other day. Two guys that started the year in A-ball, have gotten all the way up to AAA, guys that touch the high 90s when they're right. Padilla's got a great curveball. Estrada's, probably one of the better fastballs in the whole organization. So I think those guys are the types that you'll see. I think that it's mostly going to be guys that are sort of on the margins that the Cubs have hopes can be, could be locks into their roster in 2023, 2024, but that they're not totally sold on yet.
Gotcha. It's kind of interesting. Over the last few years, we've seen those like big name prospects move up, but you do bring up, especially with Brennan Davis being injured, like we're not necessarily going to see him. He was kind of the big name everybody was looking forward to. They even did that video on him and how he kind of lived out of his car the last couple of years.
Right.
But with him being injured, we won't necessarily see him. What do you think about Matt Mervis? He's mashing the ball, is what we've heard. But what do you see his, I don't know, floor, maybe ceiling? Like, what do you see him stepping in to do for the Cubs in the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's wild because a year ago he was struggling in low A as a guy who was older than his competition. Like the kind of guy that should be really succeeding in that league last year was struggling. And then, in spring training, he wins a high A roster spot and then pretty quickly wins an everyday spot. And then all of a sudden he's the best hitter on the team. Then he goes to AA, he's the best hitter on that team. Then he goes to AAA and he's, one of the two best hitters on that team right now. So it's pretty crazy. I think we're all sort of still trying to scramble and really get like our evaluation down. But I think he's definitely a guy that hits the ball hard enough, has enough like good hard contact, and makes enough contact to succeed at the major league level. I think you'd like to see a few more walks. We're going to see how some really good major league pitching, if the strikeout rate maybe starts to creep a little too high, but it doesn't seem that way right now. I think he's a guy that you bring into spring training next year and you say, if you can go win a job in Chicago, go win it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's awesome.
Jake, another guy that's a host of our podcast, has been on of that we need to move on from players that might be holding guys that we need to see who they are and get playing time. Like Schwindel, we saw Bodie getting demoted down to AAA, Ortega, Simmons, who just got DFA'd. To open up 40-man spots for like a Matt Mervis or a Levi Jordan, which then would open up a spot in AAA for Chase Strump to jump to AAA. Is that something that you see as a possibility, like those moves possibly happening?
And the Mervis getting called up is probably the question I get asked the most these days. And, what I've told people is that thing I mentioned about the call-ups the rest of the season in terms of being guys they're considering for protecting off the 40-man, that's a really important consideration this time of year. And the thing with Mervis is he's so new to the organization. He only came there in 2020 that he doesn't have to be added to the 40-man roster this offseason to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. He's not eligible. So you have a whole nother year where you don't have to add him. So the thing with bringing him up in September is that you then have to keep him on the 40-man all winter, which means that's one less spot for someone else. And so that's going to be a tough thing for the Cubs to weigh. I think if he's crushing it in the month, at a certain point, you just got to let the guy, he's earned the spot. You got to let him take it. If it's kind of like it's been the last couple of weeks where it's like good, but it's not, all world good, I think you might say, hey, we're not going to add you. Like, finish the year strong in Iowa. The AAA season this year goes all the way to the end of the major league season, so there's not even that sort of gap in time. And then, you're going to come into camp and you're going to have just as much of a chance as anyone else. So if I had to guess, I would guess we don't see Mervis this year. But if he goes on one of those hot streaks that, he's gone on like 8 different times this year, then I think you should at least give him the shot if he's just totally prove that AAA is not a challenge.
On the pitching side, who are some of the kind of like just prospects in general that's really kind of like opened your eyes this year that like we need to start noticing more of?
Yeah, I think the most fun story for me in the farm system this year is Porter Hodge, who's a pick, man, I think a 2018 draft pick, like way late in the draft from a high school in Utah that, I think was probably on the fence. Does he go to University of Utah or sign with the Cubs? Ended up signing with the Cubs. It was kind of like a blah first year and a half in the system. Just a guy who had a sort of big body, and that's about it. And between Porter's hard work and some of the things the Cubs taught, he came this year, and it's he just keeps getting better. I mean, he hit 98 in his last start, which is the highest I think he's ever touched. He's got probably a top 3 to 5 slider in the system. Throws a lot of curveballs. Like just learned a new changeup, I think 2 starts ago, and in the last start, he's having a great start. He kept throwing the changeup. Like he's just a guy that wants to get better, sort of understands and buys into the process. And I think the kind of guy that just shows the organization is headed in the right direction in terms of being able to, take sort of balls of clay and turn them into real prospects.
Now we saw Caleb Killian get a little bit cup of coffee in the majors this year. What do you kind of expect out of him? Do you see him sticking in the rotation? Do you see him maybe next year shifting to the bullpen? Where do you kind of see his outlook in the future?
Yeah, he's got such a diverse pitch mix. I mean, he has 5 different pitches, and so that and he's got the sort of prototypical body. I mean, I think when he made that debut against the Cardinals, everything you saw on Twitter was like, man, this guy looks just like Mark Pryor in a Cubs uniform. And so he's got that build. And so I think you have to exhaust every last chance to make him work in the rotation. So, I mean, even if, say, he goes and he struggles a little bit next year in Iowa more, I would have him pitch the whole year in Iowa as a starter. Like I'm not making that move to relief until there's no time left. So I would stay committed to that. And I think he's going to get there. It's just, I think there's just a little mechanical thing that when that switch turns, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, we had him on our podcast 2 months ago, and he even said, like, right now I'm struggling with just walking people. I'm trying to figure out my mechanics to control my off-speed pitches so that I'm not letting guys get away and commanding and getting ahead. And so that's one thing, like we've seen his walk rate kind of go up a little bit this year as opposed to last year. It was kind of down. There's just mechanically trying to figure it out this year. And I think getting bounced a couple times back and forth between Iowa and Chicago while he was going through it might have caused it to even kind of compound. You've seen the last couple starts by him. He's done a little bit better. His velocity has increased quite a bit. I think he was hitting 98, 99 in his last start. I think I saw Alex Cohen tweeting out that he almost hit 100, and that was one of his goals. Him and Cam Sanders are trying to get to 100. They've been right at 99. And let's talk about Cam Sanders.
Yeah,
he's come back after being on the development list, and now he's in the bullpen. Is that where you think he's going to stay? I'm excited to see Cam Sanders in a Chicago Cubs uniform because the dude's fun, has a great personality. Where do you see him landing?
Yeah, I mean, he is fun. He's got, I always say he's got the most swag on the mound of anyone in the system for sure. I mean, that dude has the gene that I think just, people with that personality, with the talent he has, they find their way to the majors. And I did sort of always suspect with Cam that it would be one of those things where he'd go to the bullpen and it would just be, it would just work. He's got that loose arm, and he'd pitch like 95 to 97 as a starter, but I really think that he's probably got 99, 100 in him. And when he gets that adrenaline rush, which I think he will, when he gets to the majors, I think we'll see those kind of numbers. So I would definitely keep him in the rotation, in the bullpen going into next year. But it could be one of those Keegan Thompson situations where he starts crushing it in 2-3 inning appearances out of the bullpen, and then maybe you think about trying him as a starter, and you continue to sort of develop him from the major leagues. But yeah, I'm excited to see what a longer stretch in the bullpen might mean for his overall stuff.
We talked last week about the Efros trade. That it shows that the Cubs must believe that they can keep producing bullpen arms like Efros. And then we're talking about Cam Sanders. Do you think that's kind of true, that the Cubs believe that their pitching minor league system is set up in a way that they can keep producing these type of arms in the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of like they're more about putting stuff into the system, like raw stuff, than ever before. I mean, you probably have 20 guys that have thrown 97 in the minors this year. I think you probably would have had 2 that did that 5 years ago. So that's changed a lot, and I think they do believe that whether those guys are starters or relievers, at some point they'll just have enough arms to make it all work. And then also, I mean, we've seen in the majors, they've been able to build pretty decent bullpens over the last 5 years by basically putting like $0 into it. I think that's sort of been the strength of Tommy Hodavy's contributions with the Cubs, is sort of taking those discount bin relief arms and making good bullpens out of them.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts if you think of back across the last couple of years, how many bullpen arms that we've brought in on like reclamation projects,
right,
that we've turned around and either they pitched really well and we kept them all year, or we turned around and traded them.
Exactly.
It's kind of nuts to think about, actually.
So one question I get a lot from people that I know every day is, when are the Cubs going to spend money on pitching? And I said, I don't think they're going to go get a big name free agent. I think they're going to try to build their own arms. Do you see them trying to find one free agent pitcher to kind of anchor things behind Kyle Hendricks?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting offseason to sort of get an idea of, I think both what's their long-term spending strategy and B, sort of how close they think they are. I think it would be, I mean, to me, if you can make a splash just at the very top of the rotation, I would do it. I would spend almost no money on depth. I would trust my system for that, and I would spend big money on high-end players. I would be aggressive on
a John Lester type that can make the throw to first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, an ace with also a little fielding ability. That would work great. So yeah, it would not surprise me if they were aggressive and went out and got a guy who could be a number 1 / probably more realistically a 2. But yeah, I don't think that we're going to have to worry about as much over the next 5 years like we did the last 4 is like them having to go and get 3 starters in an off season because they just don't have anyone else. And that's, that's nice. If you can spend $30 million on one player, you'd rather do that than spend $10 million on 3.
Yep.
Right. So who are you more high on? Velasquez or Morel?
That's interesting. Going into the year, I probably would have said Velasquez. I think it switched for me this year. I think the biggest difference is that Morel has shown an ability to sort of stay alive with 2 strikes. He gets in that low crouch, and he's had a ton of success with 2 strikes. I mean, some of the most in baseball.
He just had an error. I'm just saying that. Third base.
At a third? Oh, damn, because I love it. I love him at third.
Right.
Oh, it should have been picked, though. I think it should have been picked. I don't know who's playing for first right now, but it should have been Wisdom. It should have been picked at first.
I guess the third base is an example. I mean, he has that defensive versatility where you are going to get value. I mean, you're not going to if he's making errors, but in general, you're going to see the value from the defense that Nelson's not going to be able to match. But also, I think Chris right now would profile to have a better strikeout rate long term than Nelson, and that's going to be a big thing. That's sort of their power. Both of them have good power. Nelson's probably a little better, but if Chris ends up striking out 10% less often, then he just is a more valuable player, and that's what I think we've seen this year. That's exciting.
I think you just tweeted out in Velasquez's last 28 games, he has a slash line of 298, 339, and 471.
No, that's Luis Vasquez, the shortstop.
Oh, the shortstop
going up from AA to AAA. Yeah.
Nice.
There's so many, there's so many guys succeeding right now. It's literally hard to.
Can't keep it straight.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I wondered between Velasquez and Morel because Velasquez was such a huge name over the offseason. All of
Yeah.
his success, last
Arizona Fall League, yeah.
Arizona Fall League and then carrying it over. It was interesting. And then Morel making that big jump from AA, getting called up more or less because he was like already on the 40 man and they needed somebody because of injuries.
Right.
And then he struggled, but he's kept every time he struggled, he figured it out. And I think he's a lot of fun to watch. He's actually who I point my middle son to, like the big deep breaths when he gets down, when he's in a big moment and stuff like that. I keep trying to point that out. In fact, we were playing mini golf today, and my middle son gets really competitive, and he was getting in his own head because we had this one hole that had a slope on all sides, and he was just. It was either flying over it or going up and rolling down, and he was getting angry. And I was like, "Take a Morel breath. You got this. You got this."
Nice. Yeah, I mean, between sort of the buying into the process of just staying calm, but also always having the energy and the joy for the game that he does, it's such an awesome combination.
Now we've talked a lot about this too. What are things that Cubs fans should be looking to when they're watching the rest of the Cubs season this year? Like it's like we're like there is things that we can look to try to like draw out something for our future. And so what are some things that you're going to tell, like if I were to ask you, what would you tell Cubs fans, like, hey, no, this is what you should be watching for the development of our starting pitching or the development of Christopher Morel? Like what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, they are going to be things on the margins because like as far as starting pitching goes, like, Justin Steele and Keegan Thompson, we're probably getting pretty close to innings limits here. So, and even if the Cubs don't actually stop them. Like if Steele and Thompson struggle in their last 15, 20 innings this year, I think we can all just chalk it up to, hey, these aren't guys that are used to pitching more than 110 innings in a year. So I'm not going to judge their last 2 months very strongly. Like I'm going to be looking, okay, can the Cubs find, 4 or 5 relievers for next year's bullpen so that they're not so stressed in the free agent market trying to get guys for that? I'm going to be looking at Velasquez is a big one. Like, is he a guy that could be on the 26-man roster out of camp next year or not? Seiya Suzuki to me is a big one. I mean, it's been a struggle a little bit since the injured list this about a month ago. And so like having him get back on track, I think is one of the most important things for the last 2 months. I think you'd like to see him taking walks again, getting into his power consistently, and really feeling like you have that right field spot locked up.
Yep. I did call it that he's going to hit one in the corn on Thursday. So
nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Too bad. Hopefully by then I pick before you for the dinner picks. And I'm making sure to pick him.
Well, yeah, Bryan, thanks for jumping on. We won't take any more of your time, but where can they find you on Twitter or give you a follow?
Sure. Yeah, I'm at CUB Prospects on Twitter, and I write, a couple times a week over at Bleacher Nation.
Yep. Go check out Bleacher Nation. They do great stuff there. I think I've been following Bleacher Nation since I was like a freshman in college. So that's like 15 years. So as long as they've been going, I've been following Bleacher Nation. They do great stuff. So yeah, and check out Bryan on Twitter. So yeah, thanks for jumping on, talking Cubs prospects and a little bit of Cubs with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you, Bryan.
That was Bryan Smith from Bleacher Nation. Guys, I think we're up 4-0 currently right now.
4-1.
4-1?
The game's on right behind you. How can you not know the score?
Well, it's hard to kind of see. And
you need a mirror.
And it's not
Thompson
on
gave up
right
a homer
behind me.
You need a mirror.
So it's not on behind me for
legal reasons.
If you're watching us live on YouTube or Facebook.
Mitch doesn't own what's on his TV.
I don't. It's just there. I'm just happen to be broadcasting while it's on.
It's kind of those gray areas I handed beer out at the Field of Dreams game.
Yeah, exactly. So I am going to be at the Field of Dreams on Thursday. I'm going to pick up my media pass on Wednesday. I'm super pumped. I am not going to be at the minor league game on Tuesday, but I'm super excited to go and I mean, we're gonna try to get some interviews. We're gonna try to talk to whoever we can while we're there. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a blast. I'm super excited to watch my favorite team play a Major League Baseball game in the state of Iowa, where I'm from. Like that's
so awesome.
That's huge. Like that's huge for me. And like we just watched the Field of Dreams with my kids Saturday night. Like I wanted them to be able to see it. They enjoyed the movie. They like I didn't know what to. It's kind of a well, kids like it, but
Right.
my son loved it. My daughter liked it. So like I'm excited to be able to go there and see the new field, see the old field, be able to play catch on the old field. And just the whole thing, like playing catch with your dad, like that, how the thing ends. I mean, it's so beautiful. And like, that's what baseball is about. I would really love, like last year they had Kevin Costner. It would be so awesome if they had James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah.
Didn't he pass away?
No, he didn't. Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta.
Liotta, he passed away.
God,
And he passed away in like May.
Yeah.
And so they'll probably do some sort of thing there
So
to honor
how old
him.
is James Earl Jones? If
He's probably super old,
is
but
he like 90?
but even if he just did like a voiceover or do something,
Right,
like
that'd be
him
cool.
doing the starting lineups, that'd be
Final,
awesome.
like this final little monologue at the end of the movie.
Yep,
At the end, that would be great.
yep. So that would be sweet.
91. James Earl Jones, 91.
91.
See, Kevin, you should have known that because he played Darth Vader, and I know you're a big Star Wars guy.
Well, that's how I knew he wasn't dead, because he just did some voice acting for Obi-Wan.
Oh, there you go.
Whatever that is.
You're welcome.
But yeah, like
Nerd alert.
I'm excited to go to the Field of Dreams. With that said, Toppling Goliath is our sponsor, and I told them, hey, I'm going to the Field of Dreams game. Is there anything you want me to do? And they gave me a whole bunch of beer. The thing is, I don't know if it's legally okay for me to hand out beer since I don't have a beer license.
When you were telling me about it last week, that's the first thing I thought of. And why am I the voice of reason on giving people beer?
Right.
So I got some beer. I won't be giving that out. I'll be giving something else out. But yeah, I'm going to the game. I'm trying to decide if I should get the hats.
Yes, the uniforms. Yeah.
Okay, so the uniforms.
Oh.
Do you like? Do you not like?
All right,
What's your
I
thoughts on
love
the uniform?
I love the Cubs hat.
Yeah.
Mhm. I do like the Cubs.
I mean, they've kind of had one on Fanatics for a long time like that. I haven't pulled the trigger on buying it yet, but I do like it. The uniform's kind of nice. It's not like something that Chris Sale would probably cut up.
Okay,
But
if you're watching live, I have this retro Cubs jersey that I got as a giveaway at a Cubs game, and it looks a lot like that. So I think I might wear this retro throwback jersey to the game because it's
Nice.
like looks kind of like that jersey, but like as soon as it popped up, my wife's like, "You're gonna get that hat, aren't you?" It's like, no, I'm not gonna get it. She's like, "You have like 1,000 Cubs hats. You're gonna get that hat."
No, I am not going to get it.
So maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know, but
The only thing that threw me for a loop about the uniforms was that the Reds have the pinstripes,
yeah,
which I know that's a little more history stuff like there, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
And I think in the film, somebody in the background, one of the extra players, was wearing a Reds jersey that had that looked like that. So that would have been, and that would have been the time that it would have taken place. They wore those jerseys.
Yep. I got that. It just took me a moment. I'm like, there's got to be a history reason why it's that way, but threw me for a loop.
yeah.
Jeffrey, is there anything you want me to do at the Field of Dreams game?
Don't get arrested. Don't do anything I would do.
Yeah, pretty much. If Jeff would do something, you need to take a step
Not
back.
do that.
I think
Yep.
on Wednesday when I go, I get a tour of the facility. I think I get to go out onto the field.
Nice.
Excited to be able to do that. But yeah.
What about do you get a tour of the farmhouse?
I know they have like a little museum or like their barn they turned into
Yeah.
a baseballism like store. So if you ever looked up baseballism, their merchandise is pretty sweet and cool. I think you can go in there. And I think before the game, people can go out into the original site and
So-
play catch and do different stuff out there.
So I think when I visited the Field of Dreams, like in 5th grade, for like it was a school sponsored trip. We visited like a bunch of places in Northeast Iowa. I think people were still living in the house.
Yeah, I think there were back then.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
That
they
probably
managed
would've
it, and
been-
then somebody
That
bought
probably
it.
would have been like 92-ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was in like 7th or 8th grade, we read the book and did a study in Mrs. Cranbeer's class. See, I even remember my teacher's name.
Nice.
And then we took a field trip there and went to the Field of Dreams, and we toured that, and then the John Deere Toy Museum.
In Dyersville, yeah.
Yep, in Dyersville.
We actually stayed overnight in the dorms in Luther College.
Really?
Yeah, that was our overnight. Yeah, we went to like the State Fish Hatchery in Manchester, the Billy Clock Museum in Spittleville, Effigy Mounds, Pikes
Look at
Peak.
that.
Classic. You hit up all the classic places.
That's right.
in
Yeah.
Northeast Iowa.
Yeah.
Look at this, like a little history lesson here on the Tingers podcast of Iowa.
Yeah.
Come to
And if
Iowa. It's
And if
heaven.
anybody didn't know that
this
Jeff's
heaven?
super old,
No,
I
it's
mean, he was
Iowa.
discussing that he was doing this in the early 90s. So, there's that.
Yeah. I'm the oldest guy on the pod, all right? I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Jeff's just happy he didn't get kicked off that field trip for
that's-
doing
Oh,
something
God.
illegal.
I was too
But
young.
it was 5th grade. It was.
I
5th
was
grade.
too young. It's when I was in high school and I belonged to a group called Proud, Peers Resisting and Opposing Underage Drinking. I smuggled beer to a weekend retreat in Iowa City.
And it's in the name.
Please tell me you were like the president of the organization.
As a secretary.
Did you use the money to buy the beer?
No, I worked at a grocery
did
store.
too.
I stole it.
Oh, jeez. We at the Dingers
Right.
podcast do not condone any of this, any of Jeff's shenanigans.
I tell you what.
That's awesome.
Nice,
Let's end
nice.
there because that's a
Yeah.
good boom. Yeah, if you follow us on Dingers on Twitter at Dinger Cubs, and this is episode 92 of the Dingers podcast. The Cubs are up right now, 5-1. Go Cubs!
Go Cubs.
Good thing there's a statute of limitations on that there, Jeff.
Right? Good night, John Boy.